Welcome back to U.S. Farm Report this weekend. Garrett, Toay, and Sam Hudson rejoining us. All right, we focused a lot on supply in the first roundtable, talking about drought, talking about future impacts in this weather rally. But Garrett, when you look at the latest WASDE adjustments and the problems that we've been having with demand, it seemed like USDA signaled those demand problems are not going away.
Absolutely. I mean, the USDA isn't telling us anything that we don't know. I mean, the USDA is kind of the tail wagging the dog. And I think the June WASDE, rather, they just kicked the can. I mean, I think the most important thing, especially when we've got a bona fide weather market here, is this June stocks and acreage report, where either the USDA can throw water on this rally or gasoline, depending on what acres show or if there's a surprise in stocks. But as far as demand is concerned, we know the Brazilian crop is big. We know that even in the face of this Ukraine-Russian conflict, that their offers, even with them out of the market, Brazil is taking over the lead there. In fact, last month, where Brazilian corn harvest is in its infancy, China took 100,000 tons of corn from them. And the corn export program to China out of Brazil is already restarted. So the thing that scares me is that our export new crop demand is poor. Brazilian corn offers are $20 to $40 a ton cheaper than ours through October, November. In October, November, that's our harvest. That's when we need to be selling corn, and Brazil is still going to be there undermining our demand.
Yeah, when you look at corn exports specifically, I mean, we're hearing a lot of talk that Brazil could actually top the U.S. as the top corn exporter, Sam. Looking at some of those numbers that Garrett just said, is that possible?
Oh, I don't see why not. But we have to also recognize what filters into that. It's not only them growing their market and supply and being able to find a price where it's more attractive to world buyers, but it's also the tight domestic situation that we've had here in the U.S. over the past year. And we could see a complete repeat of that again this year, just maybe in the central corn belt instead of the west. All the bushels we railed west, we may be begging back for here if we don't get a rain in a couple weeks. And so, I think that's definitely something to think about as you go into harvest too, because we got to fill the pipeline still. And as Garrett was saying, there may not be a whole lot of carry from harvest to December this year. I think the real pain comes probably January, February, March of next year. If we can raise this crop and we've got a good prospect in South America, that's where you could really see some much lower prices. But we have to get these rains. And until then, I think the market's going to show that it's scared. And we're showing some evidence in the spreads of demand this week. We're seeing some weakness in the old crop, new crop spread, with the December now leading the way and showing that all the risk is there. And this basis erosion across the central Midwest, I think, is indicative of a lot of these commercials getting their coverage and bridging the gap to new crop, however big or small it's going to be.
All right. Well, looking at grain farmers, happy about this rally this week, but feed users getting nervous. And we talked to a lot of pork producers last week where just, the situation is not good there with input prices already. So if you are a feed user, Garrett, what advice do you have?
I think you got to be patient here, depending on these forecasts. This is a supply-driven rally, not a demand-driven rally. From a farmer standpoint, from a producer standpoint, it's a rally that needs to be sold. I know it's difficult. This is going to be a difficult year. We have high input costs. We have high interest rates. We have no demand, and we have a potential of a drouthy situation. From an end user standpoint, though, they need to be patient. From a hog producer standpoint, from a cattle producer standpoint, with all-time highs in here and new crop feeder prices where they're at, it's still pencils. The only issue is being able to source the grain that you need, or the supplies that you need. I know with first crop hay cutting right now, I think the demand is picking up, that people are starting to get some coverage in, because I think the first crop hay is probably going to be the cheapest there's going to be from a cattle producer. So from an end user standpoint, I think that you need to kind of prepare for some sort of some supply shortages, but be careful as far as getting caught on an uptick in price.
Sam, we touched on it briefly, but at the end of the month, we have quite a few reports coming out from USDA. When you look at acreage, you look at grain stocks, there's a lot to watch. But what do you think traders will be watching the most closely this year?
Well, it'll be both, but I don't know that you can make a huge argument on the acreage side of things. There was a lot of concern, including with myself here, back up to March, when you had all that snowpack in the Dakotas, in terms of getting, wondering if we were going to get in, and then they finally did get in, and since then they haven't seen any rain either. And so I don't know if the area is going to be a problem unless it becomes a harvested acreage issue at the end of the year. The stocks, I'm not big on this, but I'm not a huge believer USDA stocks are as large as what they say they are. I think that's part of the problem in our export program. We just don't have a lot available to ship out of here. And the only time you ever really see them pull that curtain back is when we get into a production problem. And so I think you could see some fireworks there. Could it be a huge amount? No. But like Garrett said, it could add a little bit of fuel to the fire here if we're still dry, especially as you go into that 4th of July holiday.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, Garrett, Sam, thank you so much. Happy Father's Day to both of you. We need to take a quick break and then a special Father's Day story out of Ohio. That's next.